Pledge of Allegiance.
Write everything on the board and copy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call to order of the Kearney School Board meeting. Roll call, please.
Glenn Broughton.
Here.
Meredith Cole. Here. Joe.
Here.
Bruce Switzer.
Here.
Nick Vasquez.
Here.
Susan Morgan.
Here.
Darlene Balin.
Here. We have a quorum.
Move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We have no public comment this evening. And next on the agenda, we have a couple of recognitions, so good to see all of you here. First of all, we have Mr. Heil and the band.
Good evening. We had several students who went to the Misha District Solo and Ensemble Festival, receiving a gold medal there. They qualified to go participate in the state Solo and Ensemble Festival for Misha at the University of Missouri. That took place on April 29th, I believe. We had 12 entries, and I believe we brought home 3 gold medals, 8 silvers, and a bronze. And so we've got all those students, or most of those students here tonight. I think I've seen about all of them. So.
Okay, when we call your name, if you want to come up. Mr. Heil, what if you... That way.
Oh, they're on the screen also.
Can you see that?
You can look, turn around there.
What are you saying about yourself there, darling?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the order we have. So Daisy Burnham with a clarinet solo. They're going to take a picture at the end. Kieran Cooper performed a marimba solo and was in a percussion ensemble. Elizabeth Demers was in a saxophone trio. Percussion ensemble. Anna Jensen performed a marimba solo and a percussion ensemble. Alex Kinsler performed a saxophone trio. And did you do a solo too? Alex also performed her saxophone solo. Caden Mansfield was in the percussion ensemble. Avery Morgan performed a saxophone solo and in a trio. Preston Murphy was in the percussion ensemble. Colton Pasdera was in the percussion ensemble. Haley Robertson performed a flute solo. Kaylee Romero performed a bass clarinet solo and a clarinet quartet, right? Yeah. Ariana Spruhan in the clarinet quartet. There you are. Ivy Taylor in the clarinet quartet. And then Drew Wemhoff played a solo and a clarinet quartet. And Riley Johnson, I missed him. I skipped right over him. He played a trumpet solo. He's right there.
Okay, so let's have some of the folks that are at a lower altitude come in.
Hang tight. Don't go anywhere because your parents are going to want to take pictures too. So hang tight. Place. Good job. Awesome. Parents?
Mr. McGanney, do you want to talk to us about choir next?
All right, so as far as choir is concerned, it's the same thing as band. It's the same competition. We go on a different day, and students have been prepping their solos and small ensembles, many of them on their own personal free time. Some of them have studied privately with me and other voice teachers, and they work really hard. And to get that one rating at districts to qualify state is a huge deal. This year we had 8 events qualify for state, 4 of them receiving gold ratings and 4 of them receiving silver ratings. And so we'll honor our people. I think they're mostly here. Is Heidi Adams here? I didn't see her walk in. All right, Heidi Adams received a gold rating with a small ensemble. Ryan Bowles. Small ensemble. Eliandra Cooper let me know that she wouldn't be here today. She popped a stitch and she had surgery, so she will not be here tonight. But she was a solo and a small ensemble. Emmy Eberhardt with a solo. Small ensemble. Green with a small ensemble. And Haney with a solo and a small ensemble. With a small ensemble. With a solo. Kaylee Romero with a solo. Claire Walker with a solo. And Logan West with a small ensemble.
Good job. All great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I haven't talked about
Yeah.
Just go to sing it.
Oh, it's fine.
Is Ray gonna let the school spotlight know people? Yes. Is Ray gonna let the, Ray, will you let the school spotlight folks know they can come in? Oh, you got it? Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Just making sure. Here they come. Thank you. Kearney Elementary first. Kearney Elementary first. Yep. Yay.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. We've been waiting for it.
You better be right, Cole. You better be on your best behavior. We're all watching you. Okay.
Okay, first up, we have Mr. Masker and students from Kearney Elementary. Come on in.
This is Kearney Elementary Student Leadership Group, and they're going to tell you about some experiences they have at KE.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and I'm going to talk about the Kearney Elementary Student Leadership. Because school is not just about learning math and reading and things like that, it can also be about learning to do crafts and have fun doing cool things.
We have learned how to make bulletin boards and to use the Cricut. We have also learned how to work together to get things done in a timely manner, which is a good skill to have. We get to learn new things every week.
It's a lot of fun to be with your friends and work on cool projects around the school. We've helped teachers share about their events on bulletin boards, and we've learned about the Respect campaign and made decals. We have used the Cricut and its technology to make things to hang around the school, respect definitions, positive words on the stairs, and quotes in the bathroom and on Mrs. Joe's door.
My name is Ellie Arway.
And I'm Briley Beck. And today we are representing KE Climate Club. In Climate Club, we decorate the school. We decorate bulletin boards and signs that make kids feel good about themselves.
In Climate Club, we encourage kids to do stuff they haven't done before.
The past few things we have done in Climate Club is design t-shirts, keychains, and make our own welcome signs.
We work as a group to create and update new designs to keep our school looking and feeling positive.
This is Kearney Elementary's grounds crew. I'm Jace. I'm Aiden. We will be representing grounds crew. First off, we clean and make it safe for the children. We also get to learn simple stuff that we will probably have to do at home. For example, we get to sweep the building and wipe the railing and stuff off. We also help Miss Jo lift stuff she can't handle, but most of all, we have fun.
We painted lines on the football field so we don't fight about it, and we make bases for kickball and have to make different stuff.
Any questions?
How many are on the grounds crew?
Like 7 or 6.
And when do you do the work? Before school or after school?
At 9 o'clock.
Perfect.
Can you girls teach me how to use my Cricut? Because I don't know how yet.
So these are some of the main leaders of these groups. We have approximately 60% of our fifth graders that participate in some sort of a group, whether it's changing the sign out front with different dates, whether it is updating the slideshow on the days of the week, adding new pictures that are up around the building. But these guys told you about their painting some lines on the football field. They came to me frustrated because they were losing time playing football, getting in arguments, and they needed an end zone and an out-of-bounds line or else. So they came about that idea, and that's kind of how this group has come to be. They come up with these problem-solving situations, and it's all student-led.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay. Good job, Mitch. No, scoot.
Big smile, big smile, big smile. Just in case, you never know. Make your mom proud.
Perfect. Good job.
Thank you all very much for coming. Next, we have Kearney Junior High and Mr. Hoffman.
Okay, Mr. Roberts is going to speak for Kearney Junior High tonight. I am pleased to also brag on him as the Junior High Teacher of the Year. Very deserved. We don't have anyone who really walks the walk with his students any more than Mr. Roberts, and I think you're going to get a little sample of that tonight as he features some students from his gifted and talented English classes. I think we have a couple of freshmen and one eighth grader? Yep. So anyway, and Mr. Roberts, I will also add, filled my position of eighth grade English when he came here several years ago. And so anyway, I'm just anyway, very, very pleased to have these students and Mr. Roberts tonight.
All right, hello, Kearney Board of Education. I am Mr. Roberts, as previously described. Good to see all of you. I have met many of you before. If I have not, it is so good to meet those of you that I have not had the chance to meet before. I'm here to talk a little bit about my gifted program tonight, and I'm going to bring a couple of really amazing kids up here in just a second, but just talk a little bit about the program before I get started. A few years ago, I was kind of a squeaky wheel about the gifted program here in Kearney. I very passionately wanted to expand it. I remembered my own experiences at Kearney and how my experience in gifted felt a little bit like it had fizzled out towards the end of my career in secondary. And I really wanted to bring rich, valuable, meaningful experiences to our gifted and talented students. And I whined about it a whole lot, just so much. And eventually they told me if I would actually go to school and get certified and stuff, they would give me some classes, and that's eventually what happened. We decided back at the initiation of the program about 5 years ago that it would be very project-based, which is it was a big buzzword then. It's a little bit less of a buzzword now, but still one that I think is very important. Project-based learning is about having our students do real stuff. It's about not having them just abstractly learn things forever. It's about having them do things that are meaningful to them and that have actual real products at the end. They make something. They create something that did not exist before they started the project. The projects are student selected. At the point where I teach students, when they are gifted, even as amazing as I am, and I'm so amazing, as everybody will tell you all the time, it's very weird to be told how amazing I am all the time, but I can't keep up with these kids. They are so friggin' smart. They are so amazing, and their interests are so specific and so narrow that no teacher could ever keep up with a dozen of them. So what can you do at that point? You let them drive their education. You let them select projects that they truly care about. You let them set the parameters, and you let them thrive, and you support them through that. And that is what I have tried to do with this program. I care so, so deeply about it, and the students that I have seen and the projects that I have seen them create are wonderful. I am long-winded, as anyone will tell you. I will try not to waste too much more of your time. I'd like to let these students come up and talk about their stuff. I assure you, I have not prepped any of their notes. I asked them to simply come up and speak from the heart about the Gifted program and about the projects that they have done over the past year or two and how that has affected them. So if you would please, with me, welcome up to our podium in whatever order they would like to speak, Brennan Judkins, Seth Ballard, and Luke Hinesley. If you folks would yeah, they're all.
Hi everyone, my name is Seth Ballard. I'm a freshman at Kearney Junior High, and I've taken GATE for the last 2 years. My projects that I've been doing have for both years been an art project. Last year it was just simple sketching, drawing up something fun, and then eventually for our GATE performance night, I would help others be able to create artwork. And then this year I've gone to the point where I am painting a mural on my teacher's wall that's stating, believe in yourself, with some other fun little, could you say?
Artistic flourishes.
Artistic flourishes. And I think this program has been really great and has changed what I've thought about both gifted education and English education. Because in my middle school experiences, it was just all English work. And this year and last year, it's been more, I've been able to choose what I do and alongside English work as well. Which, yeah, I love this program, and I wish I could carry it on to the high school. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brennan Judkins, and I am a 9th grader at Kearney Junior High. I have been taking this program for 2 years, and I have loved every second of it. In 8th grade, I wrote a book. It is not finished yet, but we're working on it. And this year, I have done knitting projects, researching different types of knitting, and creating different projects for myself and my family. I have loved doing project-based learning because it has allowed me to find things that I never would have thought about or even tried if I hadn't had this ability to take my own path in my education and learned at my own pace. Mr. Roberts is very much about setting your own schedule, and while that works most of the time in our favor, sometimes we do get a little off track. But it is so nice to be able to learn at my own pace and learn things that I otherwise would not have been able to even come up with. So.
Okay, I don't know what to say. They did a really good job. One thing that I have learned from this, I'm an 8th grader who has been taking this for a year. One thing that I learned a lot is how to do projects, which I have previously done terribly on because I'm not good at projects, and that's one of the things us gifted kids have problems with, which I've seen a lot in our class. But I've seen a lot of us get better at making projects. Yeah. That's about much as I can say.
Do you want to talk about your projects that you've done?
Yeah.
What have you done this year?
The first, I decided to make, my first project was supposed to be shorter, but I decided to procrastinate, and so had to be moved back a quarter, but it got done and got the show on the road, and that was a Lego thing. I made half a Minecraft chunk, not very much, it's like 16 meters by 8 meters. Area.
That's really big. That's quite a lot, actually. That's pretty sizable.
And the second one that is going to go a lot farther on is a Pokemon Pokedex, kind of, or new region with regional forms and starters and all root ones and all that kind of stuff. Had to do some studying to figure out what the things that the different Pokemon had to meet. Like apparently the starters aren't just different types, but they have to meet certain criteria. So I learned a lot.
Sounds great. Thank you. So we just attempt to give these kids a chance to do something that means something to them. We have kids designing video games. We have kids doing practical crafts. We have kids starting businesses. We have kids making websites and apps and all kinds of things that just don't happen all the time in other classes. I wanted to take the last couple of moments of this time, which I know I have already taken too much of, to just invite you folks to our open house. We actually do this every year. I've always hoped for the biggest level of community engagement we can get with it. At the end of every year, we actually take all of our students. We have all of them showcase what they've done over the course of the entire year. Some of these kids have done 2 projects. Some have done 3. Some have even done 4 over the course of the year. They're all really interesting long-term projects with a really interesting actual solid final project that you can participate in or interact with in some way. Next Wednesday at the junior high from 6:30 to 7:45 or 8, we basically just open our doors to anybody who wants to come. Rachel Sarah, who is another amazing, just spellbindingly good educator, has her research science class there, demonstrating their long-term science projects that they've done over the course of the year. It is an entire hallmark and showcase for project-based learning. It is some of the most amazing, wonderful, talented, inspiring kids you will ever have a chance to meet, just showing off things that they are truly passionate about, that they have spent their time and their actual, like, willful, interested, desired energy on this year, and there is just not a more magical night of the entire year. If any of you are free next week about this time, I would strongly encourage you to stop by if you get a minute. It is just so inspiring to talk to some of these folks and to hear the things that they're passionate about and the projects they've worked on. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. I really appreciate the chance to talk about my program here. I care about it so deeply, and I really, really appreciate that the district gave me the chance to work with these students and to give them these opportunities, because I think they're some of the most amazing kids that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Hey, Daniel, how many kids total in the program?
About 2 dozen.
Yeah.
It changes from year to year, but
Right.
there's about a dozen per graduating class in general.
Thank you so much for coming, all of you.
Thank you.
What's that? Is Mr. Hoffman staying or is Mr. Hoffman leaving? I think he's leaving. Should we call him again? Mr. Hoffman? Can you come back in for just a second? We would just like to take a moment to publicly thank you for your service to the district and congratulate you on your retirement. So thank you for being here with us tonight. We appreciate your efforts, and obviously we saw some great examples of that just now. So
That's what it's all about right there. It's a perfect spotlight, and thank you very much. It's been a wonderful 30-year career, 26 in Kearney, and couldn't ask for anything more. So thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the consent agenda.
Move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second?
Have a lot of items on the consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions about any of them? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Information items. First up is financials. And as you can tell, Ginger's not here with us this evening, so I'm going to do my best to fill in. As we close year end, I think one of the important things to note is you'll see that projected increase in the fund balance. So we've moved again, increased again from 22.43 up to 23.12. So in visiting with Ginger in the business office, we still have about $1 million in outstanding purchase orders at this point. So it's likely that number could continue to increase by the time we reach June. So I know that's been an ongoing conversation, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I will say that just looking through the information that she's provided, we've seen an uptick, to no surprise, of about $93,000 in purchase services, supplies, and utilities. And at this point, we've received 89% of our operating revenues and about 70% of our operating expenses. So again, that's an ongoing conversation that we've been having, and we'll touch upon that a little bit later tonight.
No, not really, because it's been very split because we do survey them each year, and it's been very close each year. I wasn't super.
Seems like.
First, thank you for allowing me the time to provide an overview of the district's health services program. I hope I can demonstrate how having professional nurses in every building positively impacts our students and their learning potential. I would also like to express gratitude on behalf of the nursing team for the proposed salary changes for next school year. This is a description of school nursing as quoted by the National Association of School Nurses. School nursing, a specialized practice of nursing, protects and promotes student health, facilitates optimal development, and advances academic success. School nurses, grounded in ethical and evidence-based practice, are leaders who bridge healthcare and education, provide care coordination, advocate for quality student-centered care, and collaborate to design systems that allow individuals and communities to develop their full potential. The foundation of the Health Services program consists of a joint effort with our nursing team and along with the students, staff, families, and community members. A top priority is to ensure that each student is as healthy as possible to allow for adequate learning in the classroom setting. Our nurses help identify and manage health needs during the school day and provide health education and training, and also promote wellness to our students, staff, families, and the community. A safe environment with healthy students and staff allows for regular attendance and class time learning. This increases the academic achievement, which leads to lifelong success. I'm grateful to say that our health services team has 10 professional nurses. We have a registered nurse in each K-12 building and a licensed practical nurse at the Early Education Center this year. We also have a district float nurse who is an LPN and in the process of earning her RN license. Having a Bachelor or Master of Science in Nursing degree as a school nurse is beneficial in caring for a large variety of health needs and using evidence-based care. We have 3 nurses with Bachelor of Science in Nursing degrees and 2 that are in progress of earning theirs. One of our nurses also has an orthopedic nurse certification. I'm currently in the process of earning my master's, and I'm also a nationally certified school nurse. And just a little fun fact, we have 71 years of combined school nursing experience, and that doesn't include our additional experience in other fields of nursing. So I feel like we are very fortunate as a district to have that experience. So in all nursing fields, nurse to patient ratios is always a huge concern, and it's pertinent to providing safe and effective care. A few organizations like the National Association of School Nurses, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, and the Missouri Association of School Nurses recognize this challenge, and they try to provide appropriate nursing ratios in a school setting. There's no magic number, but they have provided the standards here on the left-hand side. Just one thing to keep in mind, that 1 RN to 750 students includes well students, so that would mean they don't really have any medical needs. The smaller ratios include students with a need for more complex or daily nursing services. And on the right-hand side, you can see where the Kearney School District nurse to student ratios fall per building. The last 2 years, we've been able to utilize the float nurse concept, and although they can be used as a substitute nurse, a more expanded explanation of their roles include being a resource for the primary building nurse that can help ensure student safety with more appropriate nurse-to-student ratios and provide additional opportunities for continuity of care and professional development for our other nurses. A second nurse in the health room provides an extra set of eyes and hands, allows the primary nurse the ability to attend 504 and IEP meetings and the necessary time to develop individualized health plans or emergency action plans. Our float nurse also assists with duties necessary at the beginning of the school year and other various tasks throughout the year. And in comparison to a substitute or an agency nurse, a district float nurse provides more consistency by building rapport throughout the district buildings. They become trustworthy and a familiar face to the students and staff, especially when the primary nurse is unavailable. Having a float nurse also prevents the need for costly agency nurse contracts when nurse coverage is needed. This graph here represents our students with medical conditions over the past few years. This year we have almost 2,300 students with some sort of a medical condition, and that can include something short-term like a fracture or a concussion or something minor versus a chronic condition. These are the most chronic health conditions recognized with students. We have 312 diagnoses of asthma, 67 with life-threatening allergies. Those can include food, insect, or latex. 30 with seizure disorders, and 9 type 1 diabetics. This is a little hard to read, so I apologize, but this is the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services School Health Administration requires a number of annual reports related to student health, and this one is an inventory of the special healthcare needs. So not all of our students' medical conditions are recognized on this report, but it gives you an idea of various diagnoses within the district. Some other, in addition to the ones that I just previously had on the slide, we have a lot of like mental health, ADHD, anxiety, depression, migraines, gastrointestinal or eating disorders. Routine medications are fairly common in all of our buildings. We have some catheterization care, ostomy care, and tube feedings. This is our health room data over the last few years. So it's the total number of health room service encounters for the entire school year. And the tri-colored graph on the side will break it down into the amount of routine or daily health visits, and then the total medication, treatment, or procedures administered, and then the total health screenings completed throughout the year. And keep in mind that the 2019 to 2021 were incomplete school years due to the pandemic. And then just to break that down a little bit further per building, this is a comparison of the last 2 years with the total health services encounters. And then on the right is the daily average per building from this year, from like August to the beginning of May. So we are pretty busy. Immunization compliance, the state also requires us to do an annual report, and all students have to be immunized on the first day of school. This year we had 130 students with at least one religious or medical exemption. for at least one or more vaccination requirements. So sometimes kids might have, one exemption for a medical reason, but then they're compliant in all the rest. But it doesn't always come out that way. Some have a religious exemption for all, or maybe just one. But we try to make sure that they have everything they need so they can come to school each day. And then Clay County Public Health Center, they do on-campus immunization clinics to serve our students with parental consent. So those who are needing immunizations to start 8th and 12th grade as required by law gives them the opportunity to have that done while they're at school. The health department also assists with health screenings throughout the year. They have a school-based dental program where they do preventative services, and upon parental consent, they have a registered dental hygienist that provides dental screenings and fluoride varnish applications in the fall, and then in the spring, they come back and they do oral health education and a second application of fluoride. The district results for that are on the left-hand side in the green highlighted row. And then we also have a partnership with Miles to Smiles through Level Up Kids, and they do on-site dental care for qualifying students, and they can receive full service dental care for free if they qualify. And this year they provided over $5,500 of dental services to our students in need. And then Level Up Kids, or Level Up Eye Care for Kids, they have a vision screening program, so they can offer a full service vision services with complete eye exams and glasses, free of charge for those with identified needs throughout the district. And their screenings this year referred 108 students and then had services provided in office to 8 students that were in need. Our hearing screenings had 18 students needed for reevaluation or being referred for professional evaluation. When it comes to evaluating the success of our nurses' hard work, one factor we look at and also is required by the State Health Department for a report is the student outcome with each visit. This year we had almost 87% of students in the health room return to class-time instruction. About 13% were sent home. We had 7 911 calls that were made for additional necessary medical evaluation or treatment. And so there are several factors leading to these outcomes, but I think one of the best ones would be having a professional nurse in the building almost every single day. I think there were 10 or 11 days where we maybe didn't have coverage at some part of the day, but other than that, we've always had a nurse. So that definitely helps increase our student attendance and being able to identify or manage those health risks or needs. We also have a partnership with the epidemiologists at Clay County Health Department where weekly we monitor syndromic surveillance of illness and symptoms. And then that kind of came about, well, it's been going on for quite a while. It was more impacted with COVID, obviously, and then that kind of also guided our return to learn plan as we navigated through that. We were able to update our documentation processes, so that helped improve our data collection to determine health needs in our buildings. And utilizing the float nurse concept was proven to be very valuable based on the benefits and duties previously mentioned. Several building administration and several staff members have had various trainings throughout the year, including Stop the Bleed, CPR, first aid, emergency medication for medications like EpiPen, seizure medication, or Narcan. We had opioid awareness provided to our staff, students, and the community by the Clay County Sheriff Department presentation, as well as by some of our nursing staff. And last, Giving the Basics, we had a new partnership with them this year. They definitely helped in contributing the success to keeping some of our students in school. They are a charitable organization local to Kansas City that promotes the protection of human dignity. They provide free hygiene and household items to schools and organizations with individuals in need. So our nurses and our social workers, they coordinate the distribution of those items, making them available to our students and families throughout the district. The American Academy of Pediatrics is urging schools to prepare for emergency medical situations, including seizures, diabetes, allergies, anaphylaxis, mental health, substance use, and asthma. Increasing our staff training on emergency medical situation awareness and response preparation is going to be crucial with their urgent recommendation. Another opportunity for growth includes allowing our nurses the time and resources to grow and expand their professional and clinical competencies. One of the best virtual resources available is a membership to the National Association of School Nurses. Their organization allows access to specialty education, training, and other multiple resources. And one last recommendation for future growth would be to expand nursing staff with the float nurse concept in the future. Increasing primary building nurse support is one of the keys with that. Also allowing for safe nurse to student ratio based on our current acuities. So the program goal for this next school year is to develop and implement training for emergency response and focused health concerns during the 23-24 school year for all staff. Some topics will be focused on emergency response, common health conditions, and last, I would really like to see an increased number of staff members who are CPR certified by having committed district CPR instructors. There's currently 7 nurses and 1 district teacher that are in the process of becoming CPR instructors with the assistance of the Kearney Fire and Rescue and the Regional American Heart Association. This is going to provide our district the opportunity to become a CPR training site where we can provide CPR certification to staff in the community. Thank you. Any questions?
You talked about a float nurse. Do we have like substitute nurses?
So we have a couple substitute nurses that we've hired through the district as well. They're not always available, typically need childcare, so it's more beneficial when we already have, somebody on for the day, last minute anyways.
No, it's very thorough.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. We appreciate.
I mean, that was amazing.
I know that the last few years, the health has been up and down for you. You've just done a really incredible job with the program. So I want you to know that we are very appreciative of you and your team.
Thank you. We're on construction update. Mr. Nolan?
Good evening. Construction projects are currently all on schedule with their planning and their start dates for the summer work to begin. Just as a reminder, what we have going dealing with our bond issues were the high school theater, the middle school restroom, and the EEC expansion are all set to mobilize on the 30th of the month. And then the junior high wall on the interior fixes are going to be a week later, depending on some of the demolition finishing up at the high school theater. We're going to use the same crew for that. Our junior high roof has already started as of last week. They've been doing the sheet metal work and some coping advanced work, and then they'll start the actual roofing over the gym sometime next week. Any questions on any of those projects?
Alrighty. Thank you. Next, we have a bond update. Dr. Miller?
Yes, so really the purpose of putting this back on the agenda is really to summarize the discussion that we had in the work session in April and put it into the board meeting this evening. We made a pretty big decision to pause elementary number 5 back in January. We were facing inflation, rising construction costs. We had not broken ground yet, so that was a good time for us to pause and kind of reconsider and reevaluate. And one of the things that we did was we came up with a game plan of how do we go out and seek additional information. One was a community survey done by Excellence K-12. The second thing was to engage with a demographic study. So what we know from the Excellence K-12, just to quickly recap, we asked one hard question. We asked the 300 respondents in the community, what was your preference? When asked if there was support for a new 5th elementary school, only 18% were in support. When we asked what was the support for additions and renovations, the community was very clear, and it was at 64%. We followed up with a demographic and enrollment study that was simultaneously going on as the survey was occurring. And I'm just going to give you a couple of highlighted facts from that. And if you're interested in going back, we've attached the actual presentation back to the April work session. So if you're interested in going back and looking at that. So one of the things, you know, in the 2000s, we had pretty significant growth within the district. At this point, we're seeing modest growth. You know, one of the big things that Rick talked about in his presentation was the shift in our population. For example, the last census shows a population decline for children 18 and under, and also for the population bracket 25 to 44, and that's the childbearing bracket, right? Conversely, we're seeing an increase in those living in Kearney ages 55 to 74. So we're seeing how that plays out in our schools at this point. So the district was correct to do long-range planning back when it did 2-3 years ago. Roughly, we know that there's going to be a need for additional space. There's roughly 4,600 units that can be developed. 750 are active projects in Greenfield, Noah's Landing, Dovecot, Stallings Ranch. Timing's going to be critical for the district, and we're going to have to continue to watch this. So long-range planning is going to have to be an annual conversation for us. So in the next 10 years, we anticipate, again, projections only, roughly 1,900 new homes are expected. Most will develop 5 to 10 years from now, not within this immediate 5-year window. The other piece of information that's pretty critical to this, when we think about a residential home, we think of 1 to 2 children, but really there's an estimated 0.46 child per home. It's much lower than we would anticipate. So when we're talking about 1,900, we factor that in. So enrollment projections will continue to either flatline or decline modestly over the next couple of years, with enrollment increasing closer to the 2028 mark. So the 10-year projection shows probably an estimated enrollment increase of 269 students, 136 being at the elementary. So this gives us an ample opportunity to reinvest in our current schools. It gives us the opportunity to bring parity amongst our 4 elementary schools so that when enrollment actually does increase and it's time, we've invested in those schools so that we're ready for a 5th elementary school. So again, I think what this gives us the opportunity to use those 2022 bonds, redirect them to additional space, address deferred maintenance, upgrade safety and security, and embed future-ready learning spaces. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have at this time. Okay.
I know that a lot of work is done, and we have had a ton of information. I know the board appreciates having so much to look at and digest.
Not a question, but a comment. I was privy to go to the Briarcliff School, and a school that was built in the 1950s and was recently remodeled, and they did an excellent job incorporating old with new. And when you're inside, you couldn't tell you were in an old building. It was very well done, and I appreciate that opportunity to learn about that.
What do you think are next steps and the timing of those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've already started engaging DLR in what that planning process is going to look like. So we've sent them Rick's projections regarding capacity, because I think that's going to be real critical for us to look at not only where the additions are going to be, but how much addition needs to be at each one of our 4 school sites. So we plan to pull together individual design teams from each of those 4 schools. Our hope is to go with a compressed timeline. Ideally, everything will be done and wrapped up by 2025, which would have been the same timeline as the 5th elementary school. So I realize the pause occurred, but I don't really feel like we've lost that much ground. So those are our next steps at this point.
Very good. All right, thank you. Next, we have action items. First one is the approval of the preliminary budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Okay, that's me again.
Yeah, move to approve the preliminary budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 as presented.
Second.
Okay, so each time this year, we bring to the board and request an approval of just the preliminary operating budget. This is not the full budget. You will approve all of that in June. So this just allows the district to start making purchases for the upcoming school year and get ahead of that. I will say, as a part of this operating budget, we've had ongoing conversations about making sure that we're tighter with our budget projections so that we're not looking at probably a 4 or 5% swing at year-end fund balances. So Ginger and I worked pretty closely. Zach McMahon's was part of the discussions as well, and we went line by line through the budget. I will tell you, with inflation, really trying to cut into expenditures was not really where we wanted to target. That's something that's going to be harder for us to control. What we tried to do is more accurately predict what revenues will be. So we're feeling like it will be tighter this upcoming school year, which is what enable us to do some of the things that we're proposing in the next agenda item. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Next, we have approval of the salary schedules for next year.
Move to approve teacher, classified, administrative, district administrators, other miscellaneous, and extra duty salary schedules as presented.
Second.
You gonna talk about this? This is Zach gonna talk about this, okay.
Yeah, first off, I'd like to talk a little bit about our process this year. We started right after the first of the year discussing salary and benefits, primarily benefits. Our first conversation looking at a new insurance consultant that we've changed to USI. But we had 21 members of that committee, and that's quite a bit larger than what we've had in the past. A goal of mine, a goal of, I know, the admin team is that we would begin those conversations in September next year and have those throughout the year. And the goal would be that we would be having this conversation in hopefully March of next year and not in May. So again, learning curve for me. Been great support from Dr. Miller and from Mrs. Elsey with this process. But going through this, we looked, of course, at our neighboring districts. Compared each of our classifications of staff to our neighboring districts, not just focusing on our certified teachers, but even our support staff all the way through our ranks of staff. And we had a couple areas that we were lacking, that we were quite a bit behind market on, and those were custodians, paraprofessionals, parents as teachers. We adjusted their salary schedule, puppy pound, our nurses. And so we made some larger adjustments than what the recommendation will be tonight for the majority of staff or all staff. The custodians, we increased their wage, same with paraprofessionals. Parents as teachers, they were at a flat wage that they were making. We put them on a salary schedule so we can reward longevity for service to the district. Puppy Pound and Kids Club, we made adjustments to them on the salary schedule to increase their wage, and then nurses, the same thing. We moved our registered nurses, our LPNs to a different column, but we increased the wage for the RNs directly in their column. Also, the teacher salary schedule. We've talked about this a little bit, and I think it's caused a little confusion, and hopefully we'll be able to clarify that and the reasons why we did what we did. So we looked at our salary schedules and compared it to a lot of our competing districts, and we have it's a good standard schedule, but it goes down to 33 years, and so the increases per step are $200 to $300. So from one year to the next, that's probably what you're looking at if we're not able to increase our base or if we're not able to get a percentage. And so we bleed a lot of money over a long period of time. So what we've looked at with the front of our schedule, and I'll talk why we only looked at the front here in a second, is that we collapsed our first 4 columns into 2. So that enables our folks, our starting salary, which the proposal will be around $41,800. And change for next year, for that to be a little more competitive, and then to cut out all the jumps in between, because really there's not much or not many of our master's programs that are going to be much more over 18 months or 2 years. So people are going to jump pretty quickly from bachelor's to master's if that's the direction they're going. And we had 4 columns which they could move on there. And so we've collapsed those. The reason we chose bachelor's, or master's forward, is because there are 40 staff members currently on those columns. Master's after, we have 256 staff members that are on there. So by being able to adjust and make some corrections to the front of our schedule, we make the front of our schedule more competitive, and we're at a good point in time where we have very few staff members on there where we can do that without a lot of expense. To address the back half, which we sadly need to do as well, that needs to be done. That's a goal of ours, is to address the back half, and we will begin talking about how we're going to restructure that so that's beneficial for all of our staff members. That's going to be a lot bigger project, not only bigger in time, but also larger in what's going to be required financially to make that right. And so at this point, we weren't able to do that. So we took a big chunk of it off the front, and so next year our goal will be to address the back end of that salary. But the recommendation for certified teachers would be, or for all staff, would be allow everyone to have their step on their schedule plus a 2% raise, which is going to average around 3% for all staff increase in salary for next year. We also looked, if you know, we had a slight increase to our board paid insurance or board insurance this year. We had a 2.2. We had originally thought it was going to be a 4.2. We will sign that the new renewal agreement in June. But we have a 2.2 increase. So the board thankfully elected to approve that to be to fund that fully. So there'll be no out-of-pocket payments from our staff for the HRA program, our health insurance. And then also we are offering Career Ladder again next year. I'm happy to say that we have almost $300,000 that we will be paying out to teachers for extended service to our kids, and I'll give a report in June what those activities were, how many tutoring hours, how many hours for extracurricular activities that our teachers have gone above and beyond. And I know they're very thankful for the board supporting that Career Ladder program. I've heard nothing but positive comments, and that's really, really appreciate you all being willing to do that. And that does help our folks who are Masters Plus. A lot of the people that qualify Career Ladder have some experience. You have to have at least 3 years of experience to qualify Career Ladder, as the way the program is set up now. And also, we're continuing to pay for education. That's a sizable amount that we're paying for people when they move on the salary schedule every year. We have to address that increase in salary for them, getting the training they need to also improve the instruction for our students. So again, those are the highlights of the recommended changes. Again, we know that in the strategic plan, the goal is just to keep our reserves between 17 and 23%. With these recommendations, we should land around 17% for next year. Any questions about any of that? I know that was a lot.
Actually, I would just say that I appreciate you guys going back. Obviously in the work session, it was a little different than what it is now. And you guys went back and you dove in deeper to see how we could take care of our teachers in an inflationary time. And I do appreciate that we took a second look at it and that we could get what we got for them. And the actual chart that you have down below where it kind of shows the classified, certified, I actually do appreciate that too, because I think it shows that, there's a wide range of things that we addressed. It wasn't just, one area with, support staff for teachers as well is important. And I think that all of that, shows the hard work that you guys obviously put into this.
Well, I appreciate you guys taking us back and having us, charging us to go back to the books and looking at those numbers. That credit is Mrs. Elsey and Dr. Miller. They really went to bat for the staff and got those numbers crunched and have a more accurate budget even for us next year. And this process will hopefully be even smoother next year. But kudos to the board and thank you for supporting teachers and demanding that we get everything we can out of our current budget while remaining fiscally responsible and supporting what they need. We have great people here. We have amazing people in our buildings in our district, and we want to keep those people. We also want to recruit the best. We want to recruit the best. So any other questions? Sorry.
I like all the detail. Your report is
Great job.
Yep, you've done your
Again,
first year.
the credit it should be placed other places. Dr. Miller and our communications director, and that was a team. I was actually in Washington D.C. when this was created, so
The truth comes out.
When I saw this, I'm like, wow, this is great. You guys did a really, really nice job. So thank you for doing my job for me. No, that the credit needs to be steered other places. But this is a very detailed document, and this was sent to staff. And we have had a few questions, but they've been a lot easier to answer because we front-loaded so much this year with communication. And again, that's under Dr. Miller's leadership. So.
And if teachers do have questions, the goal is to talk to you. You know, Zach, is that where you want them to direct their questions to? I mean, like, I'm not saying that that there's going to be a lot of questions, but if they do have a question, you want them to go through the chain or the principal or to you directly. That way.
My favorite part of my day is when I can get out of my office and go talk to a teacher about an issue that I can hopefully support them on. So if there's any other issues, that or any questions, I would love to go talk to anybody and try to clarify. And if I can't find don't know the answer, I'll definitely find it for them.
Cool.
Good work. All right, we're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Thank you. Approval of work calendars.
Approve work calendars as presented.
Second?
You want to
I
speak
think
to
that's me
this?
again, yes. So there've been a few changes. So we've always had work calendars. Primarily, it's been for certified teachers. What day we show up for work, what days our trainings, when are our breaks, and that's what we base our school year on. But we don't have that for so many of our support staff or perhaps certified staff that don't fall on the teacher's salary schedule, or excuse me, work calendar. So what the HR team did, and this was again a team effort. Credit does not need to be pointed towards me. We looked at these calendars and we developed the start, end date, breaks, how many paid holidays, so it's very clear for all classifications of staff if they don't fall, or for all classifications of staff to know when they're going to need to show up to work. That's plain and simple. That's the question we get. Am I supposed to be here today, or am I not supposed to be here today? Sometimes that's unclear. This is supposed to clarify that. And also, there's some accountability there as well. And so with all of our staff knowing if I want to know when the custodians are going to be here, or when the pairs are going to be here, I know that as well. I just have to look at the work calendar. So it really is a clarification piece. It's also a piece for our business services. They know when things are going to get paid and how to divide up and annualize those salaries. So again, it's just a piece in the puzzle that we're continuing to try to improve that workflow process and that human resources process so that we're equitable and fair to all. So those are the work. Any questions about those?
Great job, Dr. Miller. Since Zach doesn't want it, I'm good. And Becky, okay.
Yep. Don
Great
Kuhn
job,
was also
team.
instrumental.
How about team?
It was a team effort for sure.
There you go.
Well, it's certainly been a year of this type of work where you've looked at inconsistencies and trying to bring clarity to information. And Zach, I just want you to say thank you on this one when we say good job at coordinating a lot of this work that Dr. Miller has asked you to do.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay. Are we ready to vote on that? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Next on the agenda, approval of resolution to call for a special election.
Move to approve a resolution calling a special election on the question of whether to increase the operating tax levy ceiling by an additional 45 cents for reorganized school district R1, Clay County, Kearney, Missouri.
Second.
Okay, all right. So before you is our administrative recommendation to conduct a special election on August 8th to seek a 45-cent operational increase. Two primary reasons: additional safety and security personnel and additional increase to staff compensation. So we feel like this has been months, if not years, in the making, that we are here tonight. So it's an exciting night that we're here talking about this. A lot of positivity can come from this. It is a culmination of work of beginning with our strategic planning process. You know, we surveyed, and these were key priorities, safety and security, and making sure that we retain and attract high-quality staff for our students. Again, this was later reconfirmed with our Excellence K-12 survey, where 60% of respondents would support a ballot measure to address additional staff compensation. 59% of respondents said that they would support a ballot measure to support additional safety and security. We feel like we've got the right two items that we're putting forward on the ballot measure. We know that KSD has the lowest tax rate amongst our competitive school districts. We're at 4.7878. We also have the second lowest expenditure per pupil. We're currently sitting at $10,975. We have incredibly dedicated and committed staff. And I think we've got to come to grips with the reality that we're dealing in a highly competitive market where we're dealing with scarcity issues. And this is a way for us to kind of step forward as a school district and act on behalf of our staff. The vast majority of the levy, proposed levy, would go to be applied to staff compensation. That would help us to close the gap that other districts are currently experiencing. Mind you, other school districts, even though with the 45% increase, have high tax rates, and they also have a different tax base. So I think we just need to be very realistic about what we're asking our voters and make sure that we're sharing and telling our story. We need the opportunity to honor our existing teachers and compete for those entering into the profession. And again, this would allow the district to really increase our safety and security personnel. As we've discussed a couple of months back, we have one school resource officer. Officer Kirkland does a fine job. But a district our size, and we see the national events that are occurring, we feel like it would be appropriate for us to go from 1 to around 4. So that's where we are tentatively budgeting. But with that, at this point, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
First of all, I'd like to say I would do a cartwheel, but we'd know I would pull something. But I'm very, very excited that we are getting ready to do a levy. Last levy that we ran, which was successful, which did pass, was for 56 cents, and it was February 2011. So it's been 12 years since we've done a levy. My question is, why aren't we trying to go a little higher on that number to try and get more compensation for our staff to close that gap even more?
So, you know, we have tried all this year to be data-driven, right? So the Excellence K-12 survey, if you remember, we asked the 300 respondents if we were to put out a 50-cent levy. Only 48% said they would support. At 40 cents, we crossed the positive, and we were at 52%. And at 30 cents, we got up to 55%. So that 45-cent mark puts us right at that 50-50. And so we feel like with a strong informational campaign, if we can tell our story and tell the needs, that will help voters.
So I did check on a couple of things to try and support my argument for making it a higher. My thing since I joined the board in 2017 has always been we need to pay our staff more. They are fantastic, but I feel like we have been behind the entire time, that we're not meeting what we need to do for our staff in terms of compensation. So it's my hot button, right? I've been part of these campaigns for over 15 years. And so I understand survey, trying to figure out exactly what we think will work. A lot of times in these, and other districts do this as well, they look at a $250,000 home and what does that mean for somebody, the assessed valuation and all that. The difference between 45 cents and 50 cents is $1.98 a month for the taxpayer at that level of assessed valuation. It can generate close to $250,000, around that number, for our staff compensation. So I feel like, and then I also looked at the Census Bureau, which says that our zip code is ranked 32 in the state of Missouri of 1,025 zip codes as highest household income. This is going to be tough. I remember the one in 2011. It is going to be tough, and it's our responsibility as a board in supporting this, that we are out there talking and helping people understand what this is for. Safety and security, absolutely. Staff compensation, I have faith in our voters. I have strong faith in our voters that they will understand that. So I'm trying to understand why we wouldn't do a little bit more. But maybe there's something I'm missing in that.
Well, you and I have spoken, so I'll just reiterate. This particular issue is not a standard issue regarding an operating levy.
Yeah.
Historically, when you go after an operating levy, you're looking at new buildings. You can quantify the number of personnel that you're going to need. It makes it easier to quantify. This is a little bit of a different ask, right? And we're in different times, and we know that inflation is hitting everybody. So really trying to understand what's that right size for the community right now. And it's a difficult question, and I understand the desire to do more. It's just trying to balance those two pieces.
How soon do you think, if we went higher, I'd go higher than 50 personally, but how soon do you think we're going to have to look at this again? Because it's not going to catch us up, what we're doing, the changes we're doing now, or with the 45 cent. I understand it's different. There's not as much industry in Kearney as there is in Liberty. I'm not expecting to compete with the Liberty, right?
That's true.
So I get all that, but by going for more, will that buy us more time before we have to go back to the voters? Those kinds of questions.
So, well, and this is tough because this is crystal ball, right?
Right, sure.
So if growth happens, assessed valuation increases, you look at reassessment, that's all going to generate additional revenue. There's also different tax strategies that we as a team of 8 can consider, right? When we have years of rollback, do we pay off our debt faster and consider a debt service transfer? So that's another strategy that we could choose to employ that wouldn't require an additional, technically is an operational levy, but it is a transfer from a Fund 3 to a Fund 1. So there are things that we can do, but it's a tough question that you're asking because, again, you're looking at other districts and other assessed valuation and how quickly districts are choosing to move.
How does the rest of the board feel in terms of where we think we are?
I don't think there's not a single one of us that sit on this board that don't want more for our teachers.
I agree.
I mean, I absolutely do not think that is the case. I think it is a teeter-totter. I think it's a balancing act of getting what we can for our teachers and our staff and our safety. You cannot put a dollar figure on our children's safety.
Agreed.
Can't do it. So, but also we have to be respectful of our community and what we're asking. I think we're good stewards of the money, and we are proven even more this year that we're asking them constantly to go back to the budget and tighten it up, clean it up. We've got fresh eyes that are doing incredible jobs. I think that it's just a balancing act of making sure that we respect the community's thoughts. When you survey somebody or the people and they voice what they want or what they think, and if we don't quote unquote listen, or we
Well, it depends on who you talk to, right?
Sure, no,
I mean, I
absolutely.
have people that say, basically the way these things work, if somebody's a no voter, they're not going to vote for any taxes, they stay usually in that same space.
Sure.
Those that say, I will vote yes for anything for our schools, they usually stay in that space. What I like about this campaign in particular is that safety and security of students and staff compensation, I think we can sell that. I truly believe that we can sell it even for more than the 45 cent. I have faith in our voters. I have talked with people that'll say, well, what's it for if we go do something like this? And when you explain it, they're like, well, yeah, $1.98 a month. more doesn't seem to faze them. You know, so I don't think anybody on this board doesn't have the students and the staff's best interest at heart. I totally agree with that. Maybe it's just the experiences we have, whether it's the voters we talk to or running campaigns, that helps me to see, yes, you have to look at the survey results, but at 48% versus, you know, what tipped the scales, I feel like our voters will accept a little more.
What were the age ranges of the people who, of the 300 people? Like, what do those demographics look like of the people who were surveyed? Do you have that?
I can, if you have another question, I will look for it.
Sure. Well, what I'm getting at is, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was a pretty widespread of ages of people who would potentially
Yes,
have
they-
kids in the district and who would not.
Yes, they very carefully selected voters to represent a broad range of our demographic makeup within the district. So, you know, they took a look at what our demographics were, and then the people they tried to reach were a sort of proportional representation of that.
Of
So-
our community, correct?
Right, so it was all voters within our people who, yeah, are property owners and voters within our district. So,
Okay.
yep.
You made reference to a $250,000 household, is that right, for $1.98 a month?
No. How it works is if you figure out the 45 cents.
Right.
That number.
But the difference.
And the difference between them is less than $2 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the average household in Kearney?
That's what, that's typically what we've used, and I know that's what you suggested I used in my
So
calculation.
I think when we did the original prepping for the survey, we used, now, this is an assessed value on a house. So if you know, an assessed value of about 250,000. Now, that could be market value of 325, 350, right? So at 45 cents, that's $214 a year, or $17.80 a month. At 50 cents, it's $237 a year, or $19.75 a month.
So 17 and change or 19 and change is kind of, like I said, I'd go more. But I'm asking to consider 50.
I did a little homework and created a list that I'd like to share with everybody. I'm just gonna go down the list and I'll tell you where it's from. DoorDash, epoxy cups, T-shirts, blood plasma donations, teacher pay teachers, managing of a rental property, selling art, Walmart online shopper, private tutor, private counselor, doTERRA oil rep, music lessons, realtor, private volleyball club, boutique sales, Mary Kay, Mela Aluka, unique, t-shirt sales, boutique sales, Vistacart, wood laser engravings. Those are all teachers at Hawthorne or Kearney Elementary. Those are their side jobs. Those are the jobs they're doing to make ends meet. And they were thankful and hopeful that you would take that into account.
And I think that's all, you know, all the reasons why we're here tonight, right? And
Yeah.
so, and
I think everybody agrees on running this. I don't think there's anybody who thinks we shouldn't. Am I right? Everybody believes we should?
Yeah.
I agree, yes, we should.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Yes.
It's just trying to figure out exactly that sweet spot, like you said.
Well, it's on there. It's on the 45 cents is what.
Right, and
is
I'm
on it.
asking to consider 50.
Yeah, and I think that being respectful to the taxpayer, I think 45, I think Dr. Miller gave you a good explanation of why. And I think that the majority of the board feels that way. And I think that, I mean, there's no reason to do a survey. It's kind of like, and a teacher would understand this, if you go to a teacher and you tell them a new process, that, hey, what do you think? And then you bring it in there and you say, well, it doesn't really matter what you think because you're getting it anyway, right? So you didn't listen to your taxpayer. We have the results from 300, which I understand that there's plus or minuses to that. But that sweet spot is where we're at. And I think that that's being respectful of listening to to the voters. And Susan, you know, I think that we all understand that of the last couple of years, the one thing that we should have learned from what occurred over the last couple of years is that we need to listen to our voters.
But why haven't we done it in 12 years?
Because this is the time is now. I can't worry about the sins of the past. All I can focus on is the opportunity of the future.
And that's, I think, what I'm saying, is the opportunity
But
to
this
try
is-
and close the gap a little more is what I'm asking
Well, and I think
for.
45 is a good number. And I think that's listening to the voter. And I think that's also getting you everything that you want as far as getting you up the scale. And I think 50 cents is being greedy.
It doesn't take us up to scale in terms of how big a hole we've dug ourselves into by not running one for 12 years. It's going to take more than what we're proposing to actually get us up to the level playing field.
That's not true.
I guess, why would
I think it is based on the
If we
numbers.
asked the voters, and we asked, and we did a survey, and we're not gonna do what we see from the data, what was the point of asking?
My thing is that 48%, and the number she was saying, I do believe that that's very close, and I believe if you presented it by saying, and we're not gonna go back and survey, but I think we have to decide that for less than $2 more a month, we can do that much more. I'm just fighting for the thing that I have been fighting for years, and I want the teachers to be paid more. I just do.
And they will at 45 cents.
We will close some of the gap. You're correct. We will close some of the gap.
I think it also, though, tasks the board going forward to keep this on our plate and to not let 12 years go by again. I think that
That's a
that
good point.
is
How
something
many-
that's,
Good point.
How
How
many
close are you
admin
gonna
did
go
we
back to
miss-
voters?
lose last year to Excelsior Springs?
It wasn't last year, I think it was a
Oh,
couple
2
of
years,
years
I'm
ago.
sorry.
Right, and I think there was 3 administrators.
Are we up to par with our 92?
Yep, so the tax rate, that's a good question. So
As far as administrative pay?
administrative pay.
Well, I'm
Dr.
hoping that
I don't
this-
know, but
this
we
is
got
going
some
to
great
teachers.
administrators in out of that deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get the
that's,
same increase, right?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, yeah. Not if they, based on the salary
Sorry,
schedule
Andy.
changes and everything.
I'm just asking, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, yeah.
We can get you, I don't have that information readily available, but we could get that for you.
So in our strategic plan that we have, the 45 cent, where's that get us in the strategic plan with the teachers?
So, well, that's very difficult to answer because it's a moving target because districts are moving, right? The strategic plan talks about being in the top 1/3. And the top 1/3 is filled with large districts with commercial tax bases. So we're always going to be, this will always be a discussion or a focal point for us, yeah.
And I agree with Bree, we can't let time pass, we need to keep discussing this. But I think 45 is for me, it's a great spot. Because I walked in at 40 to a meeting, and then we had discussions, and we talked about 50. And then I walked out saying, to me, 45 meets our needs right now. To get our buildings secure, get our teachers paid more. To me, that's where it's at right now in the focus, and listening to the taxpayers for what they brought forth, even though if it was only 300. But I agree, it's our job
Yeah.
to go sell the story and explain where we're going and what the plan is. Like John said, we can't look behind, let's look forward. Let's move forward. That's mine.
Everybody's got to know that I'm going to be asking continually. I thought maybe I'd get reprieve from asking, when can we increase teacher pay? When can we increase teacher pay? When can we increase teacher pay? To now, I don't think we're doing quite enough, so I'm going to still ask.
How can we continue to do our best for our staff? How can we continue to manage our resources appropriately? I appreciate Dr. Miller's comments about the fact that we have strived as a board this year to be transparent, to have as much information as possible, and to be data-driven. And I know that we all come at this from different perspectives when we talk to others who we know will be voters and get their thoughts and feelings. And And I think it's difficult to know, for sure.
Yeah, I
what we're gonna be. It's very difficult. After a lot of research, you do have to stop at a point and make a recommendation, which our administration has done. And we all may not agree on what that is. But I do think the one thing that we do agree on is that we've got to keep working on this all the time. We can't wait a number of years. I appreciate Dr. Miller's work on other levers that we can probably pull down the road to continue to manage our resources effectively, whether it's how we invest our money, or whether it's how we do our budgeting. And we've made a ton of changes in all of those areas this year. And I think that that's where we stay on top of it. And
I think it tasks us to think outside the box, to tighten stuff up. I mean, I go back to, I don't think not a single person sitting at this table does not want more.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's
a given. I
But
agree.
I do think that we have to have the respect to the both sides, the teeter-totter of it. We've got to have that balancing act. And I think that's the 45 is where that kind of landed, So
any other comments?
Can we do a roll call, please?
Better get the computer ready for that. You ready? Okay. Roll call, please.
Lynn Broughton.
Yes.
It's gonna take me just a little bit longer here. Meredith Cole.
Yes, with reservation, I wanted it to be higher as well.
John Kern.
Yes.
Bruce Weitzer.
yes.
Nick Vasquez.
Yes.
Susan Warman.
And a quote from the Sandlot, "You are killing me, Smalls," but yes.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes. Thank you all. This has been a tough issue for all of us, and I appreciate I know all of us appreciate each other. I don't mean it's just me. All of us appreciate each other's attention. A lot of conversations that we've had.
Good conversations.
Good conversations.
Healthy conversations.
And conversations that I think set a good framework for the future. We are 1 year into our new administration here, and a tremendous amount of work has been done. And our teachers are going to be better off, but our work is just beginning, because it's not very long until August, whatever it is, 8th. That's,
Now, every one of us has to commit to making this happen.
I think we did that when we sit here, when we're elected. I think that we're committed to making this work.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
okay, very good. We'll move on to approval of the bank bid.
Move to approve the bid from Southern Bank as the school district's banking service provider beginning July 1st, 2023.
Second?
And just a quick recap, the district requested bids from 5 banks, 2 were submitted. And really, we had, based upon the submissions and the information provided, we did elect to interview the 2 banks that submitted. At the end, we're just recommending Southern Bank. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I know it's not easy when you switch banks as a person, so I can't imagine this will be.
Becky, didn't you go through this once before?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That's recorded, just so you know. Anyone that says it's not going to be fun, Becky says it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think once again, it's sharpening the pencil to make sure that we're doing our best to provide what we can and get the best results. So, good job.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Approval of financial underwriting services.
Move to approve the underwriting engagement agreement with Stifel, Nicholas and Company as presented.
Second.
So, administration's recommending the approval of the engagement letter with Stiefel Nicholas and Company for underwriting services. We did interview 4 firms and consider the benefit of underwriting versus municipal advisor. Based upon the presentation that Stiefel gave, they partner very closely with districts, especially in long-range planning. And so there are 2 advisors, Dr. Brent Blevins and Joe Kinder. Those will be people that we will bring to you at a work session, probably in July. And we'll talk through what are our current needs, what are our future needs, and couple that with our facility and financial long-range planning needs. So they're a wealth of knowledge and will be good resources for us moving forward. And we also have the option, if we do not want to maintain the underwriter, we can also switch to municipal advisor in the future. So we have that flexibility.
Any questions? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Ready to read?
Yeah.
Approval of board policies on first reading.
Move to approve effective July 1st, 2023, board policies C-110-P, C-131-P, C-145-P, C-150-P, G-135-P, E-195-P, I-140-P, F-145-P, F-265-P on the first reading as presented.
Second. Very good.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
I appreciate Dr. Miller leaving those on the agenda for us. They're a great reading as a board member. This is something that we, obviously do a lot, so I'm not trying to, policies are a big part of our governance, and so I appreciate that we get to continue to see those twice.
Approval of the bill payment to Cole Printing.
Move to approve bill payment to Cole Printing as presented.
Second.
I'm out of words.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Board member comments?
I have show and tell. So I was recently at Kearney Elementary, and Mr. Masker gave me a tour, and I thought something was really cool, so I decided to bring it with me. And it is the art teacher drew this building. I guess drew him. Did he paint, or is it? He drew it on an iPad. I just think it's really cool. So I actually have this in my office now. I just thought I'd let you know, and thank you for that. And you've got a big one in the cafeteria now, right?
Banners going up in the cafeteria with school pictures of all the kids surrounding you from year to year. So it's going to be kind of a centerpiece.
Please thank Mr. Ford for this. I think it's awesome. Thank you.
Very good.
Oh, I'll pass it around too.
Very good. 1959. Ooh, something older than me. Any other board member comments? All right, I know we've all said a lot tonight, so I think
I feel like John Jr. All my talking.
good job.
I just want to say that it is awesome to be a part of this board, and it is awesome to have great conversations with all of you about the direction of this school district. And I think that we have to remember that we're always balancing between our stakeholders and our staff. And I think that we can fight for both at the same time. And I think that was a great lesson in this past couple weeks, that we've had discussions about what the right thing to do for this district. And I'm very proud of the constructive comments that I've gotten about that decision. So just wanted to tell you all, I appreciate the reaching out, new board members as well, reaching out and getting to have good conversations with all of you. So thank you for being a good part of that process. And this is really neat.
Okay. Important dates. Andy, are we ready for graduation? And you let the rascals out yesterday.
The rascals.
All right. Very good. So graduation is Sunday, and we all have our instructions about what we're supposed to do to be there.
Might want to double that back up.
You might send that. I was trying to be subtle, John. I was looking
No,
at-
it's okay.
make
She was
sure-
looking right at me when she
Make
was
sure
doing
we
that.
get
It was
it
for me. It's
again.
okay. I understand.
And let's
Thanks,
see.
Darlene.
Yes. Next Friday, May 26th, half day, last day of school. May 31st, summer school begins, and our next board meeting will be on June 21st. Miscellaneous?
Action for closed session to immediately precede the regular meeting in June, including any record or vote to discuss items and issues allowable under Section 610-021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Roll call, please.
Second?
Oh, second, sorry.
Yeah.
You all said so much. I didn't-
Glenn Broughton,
Yes.
Meredith Cole,
Yes.
John Kern,
Yes.
Reese Switzer,
Yes.
Nick Vaskus,
Yes.
Susan Mormon,
Yes.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes. We're adjourned. Thank you.